the bucket hack that beat Hitler's minefields, and the genius farm kid who invented it under fire. The ocean off Omaha Beach had already turned into a blender of steel and blood when a 22-year-old farm kid from Iowa pulled off one of the wildest, most life-saving tricks in military history. And here's the hook. His breakthrough didn't involve fancy gear, high-tech sensors, or secret weapons. It involved a simple metal bucket. Yep, a bucket. And before you smirk, understand this. What he pulled off saved hundreds of lives in a single day. If you're into survival, field innovation, and real-world problem-solving that punches way above its weight, you're in the right place. And if you want more stories that level up your preparedness mindset, hit subscribe, because this channel doesn't do boring. Now let's drop straight into the lesson-packed reality of how a young private, Thomas Becker, used nothing but seawater, instinct, and pure grit to outsmart a deadly minefield engineered to stop an army. Omaha Beach, June 6, 1944. Engineers were dying faster than they could clear paths for the infantry. German Teller mines were tuned with lethal precision, just 200 pounds of pressure to explode, packed with enough TNT to shred a squad. The Allies knew the beaches were mined. What they didn't know was how impossibly dense those fields were. Every probing method they had was slow, painfully slow. 3 minutes per mine if you were lucky, 5 if you weren't. And these men were stretched flat on their bellies under machine gun fire trying to do it. By sunrise, the demolition teams were being annihilated. Entire units were wiped out trying to clear just a few meters of sand. The top brass had declared fast mine detection physically impossible. Smart men, experienced men, but they were still wrong, and it took someone without titles or credentials to prove it. Becker wasn't supposed to be there. A clerical error put him in an engineer unit despite zero technical training. His entire education was just 6 weeks of basic engineer school, and, well, a lifetime of getting things done on a dairy farm. When a wagon axle snapped or a cow fell into a mud pit, you didn't debate theory. You fixed the problem with what you had. So when he saw trained engineers dying while probing the sand inch by inch, something inside him just snapped into gear. He noticed the rolling surf. He noticed the slope of the sand. And he noticed the buckets scattered from wrecked landing craft. His brain made a connection the textbooks had missed. He filled a bucket halfway with seawater, walked a few feet forward into the minefield, and poured. That's when it happened. Where the sand was untouched, the water seeped evenly. Where something dense was buried beneath, the shape of a metal mine, the water pooled, curved, and flowed at weird angles. It made the invisible visible. No pressure applied, no probing required, no trigger set off. He poured again. Same result. He had just reinvented mine detection in the middle of the deadliest beach on Earth. Becker didn't ask for permission. There was just no time. He simply moved forward, pouring water in a grid pattern, marking strange flow spots with driftwood. And honestly, the results were instant. In the time a standard team found one mine, Becker marked 7, then 14, then even more. Corporal James Mitchell saw it happening and, well, made the gutsy call that changed the outcome of the landing. He didn't shut Becker down. He didn't threaten him with the manual. He simply said, "Keep going, I'll get more buckets." Within minutes, several engineers were following Becker's system. Within an hour, they had cleared multiple corridors. 0 casualties. Not one man blown apart. This wasn't luck. This was physics, instinct, and field ingenuity teaming up under impossible conditions. In survival terms, Becker embodied a rule every prepper should carve into their brain. When tools fail, your mind becomes the only tool that matters. By mid-morning, Becker's team had detected more than 40 mines, not a single detonation. And when Captain Hayes finally confronted Becker, furious at the sight of engineers advancing with buckets instead of bayonets, he just couldn't argue with results. 4 confirmed mines in 6 minutes. 0 dead. Permission granted. And, within just a few hours, the entire beach knew. By the end of the day, Utah Beach wanted buckets. Gold Beach wanted buckets. By evening, British units were using the trick. And by midnight, Allied headquarters wanted to know who invented what they were now calling the water flow detection method. 2 days later, Becker was pulled into a farmhouse briefing with high-level engineers who just couldn't believe a private had cracked something their labs hadn't. Some argued that water should have detonated the mines. Others insisted it violated all doctrine. But Colonel Arthur Trudeau, legend of the Engineer Corps, cut through the noise. He said, "We can court-martial him for being smarter than us, or adopt the method immediately." Guess which option he chose? Between June 6th and June 30th, 1944, the numbers told the real story. The traditional method detected about 4.2 mines per hour, while the bucket method uncovered 11.7 mines per hour. Traditional casualties hovered around 12%, but with the bucket method, casualties dropped to just 1.3%. That's nearly triple the speed, and almost a tenfold increase in survivability. By the end of the month, this simple method had helped clear 6,000 mines and saved up to 240 lives. Within a year, Allied forces estimated the technique contributed to reducing engineer casualties by 2/3. Historians later suggested it even shaved 4 to 6 days off the Normandy campaign. One bucket, one private. One impossible problem turned solvable. This isn't just a war story, it's a survival blueprint. Becker's brilliance wasn't the bucket, it was the mindset. He questioned the assumption that slow detection was the only safe way. He challenged doctrine when doctrine was getting men killed. He understood the terrain, the resources, and the physics in front of him, and he acted fast. For preppers, for survivalists, for anyone who might someday face chaos with limited tools, Becker's moment on Omaha Beach is more than just history. It's a reminder that adaptability beats gear, curiosity beats fear, and practical thinking beats technical credentials every single time. Innovation doesn't wait for permission, and survival favors the mind willing to ask, "What if I try it this way?" Thomas Becker never bragged about what he did. He returned to Iowa, milked cows, raised a family, and never told people he revolutionized mine detection with a bucket. But his legacy lives quietly in engineering manuals, military museums, and in the stories of thousands of soldiers who lived because he refused to do things the approved way. If you found value in this story, and if you want more real-world tactics, forgotten history, and survival insights that sharpen your edge, make sure you subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it.